Thank you for stopping by this afternoon. I enjoyed your presentation. This question has to deal with education. In Ohio and Pennsylvania, there are two major theories on the origin of man. One, proposed by Darwin, is natural selection, sometimes referred to as evolution. The second one is called creation science. I would like to know which one you subscribe to, and if you are elected governor, would you use your power and authority to get it taught in Ohio schools?
Let me give you the great answer. I believe in both of them. I don't believe that I believe that God, was the creator, but I don't believe that evolution is inconsistent with God's program and God's plan. Look, I'm not going to stand up here and tell you look, the last politician that said he was this great Christian man, what can I say? But he is. He is. Everybody makes these mistakes, right? But look, I try every day to get my faith right. I try. I work hard at it, and I've made progress with it. I've never understood, frankly, that argument. And I've told people, that are in the middle of that debate, I don't get it. I think, frankly, that I just finished a great book by Michael Novak. I'd commend it to all of you. No one can see God, but strap on your seatbelt because it is very difficult, and it is a dialogue between atheists and believers, and it is a deep, penetrating book. It has the depth and the substance of an Augustine writing, and I commend it to you because it even deals with this subject. So, sir, I think both are consistent, and that's where I come down on the issue. What else?
Today in Washington, they're voting on the cap and trade bill, and that's going to have a major impact on the state. And what are your thoughts on that, and how do you contend that we would respond?
Well, look, I'm concerned about the issue of global warming. Everyone in the country is. I mean, we're talking about creationism. We have to be good stewards of what we have here. But I think we have to be careful. I saw Mitch Daniels wrote an article, I think in the Wall Street Journal, where he said it was the coast, the California and the New Yorks, that were trying to raid the Midwest. And we have tremendous problems here. And one thing that's interesting is when Henry Waxman gets together with Ed Markey, and Ed Markey's a longtime friend of mine, it makes me very nervous, to tell you the truth, and the Republicans have been shut out. And I think all of our representatives in Washington have expressed their deep concern about the horrible economic impact that can be visited on the Midwest. So I think we have to deal with the issue, but I don't want to do it from some political point of view or without good evidence, good intelligence, and moving in the right direction. So the issue needs to be addressed, but the Midwest can't get dumped on here because that could be a death knell for people who live in the Midwest. And I don't know where we go because they're all moving out of California now because they've had a fiscal earthquake out there. So I don't know, we could end up all living in Nevada or somewhere, So let's pull back on the reins. I think that Voinovich has had it right on that issue. I think La Tourette has had it right on this issue. And slow but sure is the way I feel that we should move on this.
Thanks for coming, Mr. Kasich. I've admired you for a long time, and I truly appreciate the way that you're able to communicate with people.
It's great to have my cousin here today. Yes.
Kind of goes along with the question the lady on the other side of the room asked before, and your point as far as the education of our children. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I read that just for 2008, the budget for the Federal Department of Education was $900 billion.
I don't know. I've stopped analyzing federal budgets. Only I close my eyes at what's been happening.
I've checked lots of different sites that think this can't be right. And the year before was 700. So how do we get the federal out of our lives to educate our kids here in Ohio? Our library here yesterday, there was a demonstration there. Yeah. We don't have enough money at the local level. Our local school districts can't pass levies. But the federal department spent $900 billion last year.
Well, as much money as we can get back here out of there with no strings attached, that'd be a good thing. And that's what they ought to be doing, block granting more money back here. They have various programs, federal programs that flow here, and I'm actually taking a look at whether we can use them for our needs in some limited amount to use them for our needs. But ma'am, I think the problem, first of all, I'm a public school graduate. I believe that school choice will save the public schools, and I'll tell you why. I think it is so difficult for public education to reform from the inside. I happen to believe that the greatest thing that's going to cause the change is going to be the loss of market share. Down in Columbus, there is a program between Battelle and Ohio State, I think it is, that create a new school that emphasizes math and science. They can't even put any money into it. It all has to be voluntary from the school districts. None of the school districts, I guess the last one is finally withdrawn. We ought to be emphasizing that, not de-emphasizing it. See, I think that in our classroom, let me give you one other kind of philosophy I have coming from the Keys Rocks. If you have a disruptor in your class, the disruptor has no right to remain in that class. When I was a kid, they take you out in the hall and give you a swat, and you didn't do it again, okay? Well, can't do any of that now. Too many lawyers, too many lawsuits. Sorry, lawyers. But, you know, what I think should be happening is you're a disruptor, you be taken out of the classroom. And you get put in a setting with other people who we haven't been able to figure out how to help you. Maybe some of it is online education for people, but let me also suggest this. Our schools have been at times so inflexible. These kids who we think are disruptors are people we haven't been able to reach. And you know what? If we could challenge their interest in video games into a technical school where we could turn them on, they could be the next creator of the next generation of high-definition televisions. But it isn't working in that setting. Look, Bill Gates, my understanding is Bill Gates couldn't come into our schools and teach computers because they don't have the right certificate. I mean, you ever heard of anything so crazy as that? So we need a makeover for our schools. What prevents it? Frankly, an education establishment too much of the time that's interested in the status quo. If we can have some additional choice and drive these standards that I talked about, global curriculum, testing students, testing teachers, paying teachers who do a good job more, creating master teachers, having the values in the school reflect what we do at home, we'll make significant progress. In the places where they've done this, it's worked. One other interesting thing that I heard years ago, and it's always intrigued me, you know, we hear about kids that go into school and they can't get along and they can't do this and they can't do that. Isn't it amazing how when they go into the military and they come home after about 6 months, their mothers and fathers don't even recognize them anymore because they've become so great. Now, why can't we take the lessons from what we learned from dealing with tough cases in the military and begin to apply them in our schools? This is all common sense. It's all common sense. Okay, that's it?
Thank you.
Thank you. How'd it go? Thank you.
Thank you, John. Today at the City Club of Cleveland Forum, we've been listening to Congressman John Kasich, candidate for governor of the state of Ohio. Thank you, John. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This forum is now adjourned.
For information on upcoming speakers or for podcasts of the City Club, go to cityclub.org.